Ape Escape! Sorry, just had to get that out of my system. Hey everybody, welcome to another new commentary for Indigo League Comms. This one, based on, well, I already kind of gave it away, but Ape Escape, which is, quite a gem of a game, I tell you what. But, with the intro stuff out of the way, I'm actually gonna hush for a bit because I want all of you watching to indulge in this opening cinematic, and then the opening cinematic afterwards, too.
Did the professor finish the time station yet? Are we gonna get to go back in time?
He said he'd be finished with it today. Let's go.
I can't wait to check out the dinosaurs. And what about the future?
Yeah, we'll keep talking because I'm going first.
That's not fair. Hey, wait up.
You better hurry up. I'll see you there.
Hey, Professor! Spike, Jake, over here. Watch out.
Spike, the time station!
No, run you two.
It works. It actually works. We did it, Natalie. We did it. The time station is complete.
We don't have time for celebrating. We've got to do something.
Okay, after about 4 minutes of intro stuff, we're finally getting into the game, after the professor over here explains some more stuff. I'm gonna try and not to talk over the major cutscenes, but all these minor cutscenes I will talk over. So again, hey everybody, welcome to Ape Escape. This is a 3D platformer released for the original PlayStation in 1999. What's interesting about this game compared to games like Spyro or Crash is that Ape Escape, specifically its control scheme, is heavily centered around the DualShock analog controller for the PlayStation, which was the first controller to have 2 analog sticks. The Nintendo 64 had 1 analog stick, like right in the center, center, and then it had like C buttons that you could use to sort of a second analog stick, except they were buttons, so some people like it more, some people like it less. Either way, Ape Escape, as well as its sequels, at least the mainline sequels, have interesting control schemes as a result of this approach to dual analog. Ape Escape's control scheme is pretty unique. It's not a control scheme you see in a lot of other games. You use the left analog stick to move, and then you use the right analog stick to basically do any major actions, such as swinging your weapon or capturing one of the apes roaming around with your net. And you can attack enemies or stun the apes with your stun club. Which, from the start of the game, the stun club will be assigned to the triangle button, and the net will be assigned to the X button. Those are your face buttons, of course. The face buttons are only used for swapping gadgets. I know, you're coming into this from something like Spyro or Crash, and you're probably thinking, oh, if I push the X button, I'll make the character jump, right? No. Well, actually, interesting fact, there was a PSP remake of Ape Escape called Ape Escape on the Loose. The PSP did not have a second analog stick, so they made some interesting, or in some ways you could argue backwards decisions with regards to the control scheme for Ape Escape. You actually do jump with the X button in the PSP remake. Not this version, which in my opinion is the superior version for the most part. I do think the PSP remake is interesting. Also, this room right here, the more of those coins you collect, they're called Spectre coins, more on those later. The more Spectre coins you collect, you'll eventually unlock mini games over here. I seem to linger around for a little bit more than I would have liked to, but that's besides the point. We're going to be revisiting that room throughout this commentary, throughout this playthrough, rather. If you're looking for a 100% playthrough, I have that on my channel in long play form without commentary if you don't like commentary, so there you go. But if you're watching this, it's because you want to hear someone talk over the game, right? This room takes you to all of the tutorials for all of the gadgets you'll acquire throughout the game. I'm not sure why I left this in. I guess I just love this game that much, but pretty much every weapon or gadget you acquire throughout the game's story, you're going to be forced to do a tutorial in Ape Escape 1. In the sequels, you aren't forced to do the tutorials throughout the course of the story. They actually give you the option. And this is the save menu. And if you go into the monkey book over here, you actually get to look at all the monkeys you've captured. Only captured 3 of 4 in the first level because this is one thing that I'm kind of torn on. When you play through every level in Ape Escape, you're limited in the amount of apes you can catch on the first visit. This means that you will eventually have to revisit all of the levels to recapture, or not recapture, but capture the monkeys you never caught before. Which works to an extent because you're going to acquire gadgets later in the game that enable you to capture monkeys that were previously inaccessible, you know. So the first level was Fossil Field, I believe. We're in the Lost Land era, which is the land of the dinosaurs, pretty much. The thematics surrounding the levels of Ape Escape is that we're traveling through time. Starting off in the dinosaur era, and, well, you can probably figure out what the end game is here. And it's not the future, although they kind of poke fun at the fact that it could be the future, but it's actually not the future. And I made the decision to keep the tutorials in. I don't know if I keep all of the tutorials in, or maybe just the first one. I don't know. But these are mandatory to do and complete in the original, like I said, unlike the sequels. The sequels, it is not mandatory. You can skip all of the tutorials. Which actually kind of makes sense, particularly in Ape Escape 2 and 3, because those reuse a lot of the gadgets that are in the first game. So if you skip the first game, you can go through the tutorials. And if you already played the first game, well, they already kind of factor that in. Don't you wish more games did that? Well, a lot of games do tend to make tutorials optional. It's rare for tutorials to be this mandatory, at least to this degree, because this is something that could be skipped if you want to replay the game, you know? But, well, it is what it is, and it's good filler for commentary, I guess, so. As I mentioned in other commentaries you probably have heard me say, I'm trying to go for a bit of a longer video length than what I'm normally used to, or what I was used to on my old channel. So, you know, I figure longer videos, people can just like watch partway through and then they'll stop it in the middle and then they can come back to it. Especially if you're watching on PS4, like I do. They have this continue watching, oh yeah, and by my friend's suggestion, every time I miss capturing an ape, at least for level 2 and onward, if I remember to edit it in, I put in a little picture where I don't catch the monkey. So I hope you all enjoy that stuff. Yeah, I don't know if my friend will show up in the commentary, but there's still quite a few parts after this. There's always a chance he could sneak his way in here somehow. So there you go. But continuing on with this Ape Escape commentary over here. Right now, things start off pretty simple. You only really have 2 gadgets. We acquired the water net, or something like that, earlier. That enables you to go underwater to capture monkeys that are lying in the water, or close to the water. And in some ways, I find capturing monkeys to be more efficient with the water net. I don't know. Again, this is not going to be a 100% all Spectre coin run or anything like that. But I do have a playthrough where I acquire all of the coins. Again, I mentioned it earlier, but it's on the channel. Just look up Ape Escape long play, you know. And again, no commentary. Also, we have to zoom in on that. That enemy. Every time you clear the level, it always has that face. And it's a coincidence. It's not intentional, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, it's always pretty funny to see that face. And I had to zoom in on it. I actually went out of my way to do some editing on this, I'm telling you. And I think I leave in most instances of coming back to the time station. Again, just to have a little more filler for commentary's sake. Just in case, because Ape Escape's not a very long game. I wouldn't call it a long game at all, really. And even though I said this isn't 100%, I've still acquired all of the Spectre coins thus far. Well, that's because there's only 1 per level right now. Each commentary part isn't going to be limited just to a set of levels. Like, it's just by length. So, we're probably going to be entering the next era in this part, actually, now I think about it. Anyway, this is the last level of the dinosaur era. You're going to need to come back here with a gadget called the slingback shooter. Yeah, the slingback. Whoa, need to dial it back there. Slingback shooter. And it's basically a slingshot. So, why don't we just call it a slingshot like that? You come back here with the slingshot gadget, and you'll be able to capture all of the apes. So yeah, you're gonna have to backtrack here regardless, even if the game didn't limit you on the amount of apes you could capture on the first visit. So there you go. And I find that Ape Escape on the PlayStation is kind of like the Super Mario 64 of it almost, because Super Mario 64 was like the first 3D platformer ever. Well, maybe, well, I'm pretty sure it's the first one. I know there are games like Jumping Flash, but I mean, that had 3D graphics, but it was like first person, so I don't know if that counts. But, and Crash Bandicoot was 3D graphics as well, but it had a lot of 2D levels in it as well, so, you know, it's kind of, you get kind of weird situations like that when you look back on the history of gaming and whatnot. But Ape Escape's interesting since it's the first 3D platformer to really take advantage of a dual analog control setup, because, you know, Super Mario 64 had the one control stick on the N64 controller, so you know, which was enough back in the day, but it is what it is. Anyways, we finished off the first era with the dinosaurs, and believe we're going to head into the next era, which I think is called like the Mysterious Age. I'm not sure what exact time period they were shooting for with the Mysterious Age, but I guess we're gonna find out. Interestingly enough, when you first enter the thick jungle of the Mysterious Age, there's going to be a tutorial for the monkey radar. This gadget is pretty stinking useful. And this is actually the first gadget you acquire that you can actually map to your to the face buttons. I mean, Stun Club and the net you can map, but they're already mapped when you start the game, so you don't have to go out of your way. You know what I mean? The monkey radar is the first gadget you can actually manually add to the setup yourself. And I leave in the tutorial. I think there was a bit of a frame drop there, but it's not really that big of a deal. Now that I think about it, I think I might have left in the tutorials at the suggestion of my friend, who was the same person that made the suggestion to make all those lol edits. Very done. I don't know how hilarious those will be for people, but it is what it is. It gives a little more spice to this playthrough, I think. Anyways, I think there's an important cutscene coming up, so I'm gonna be quiet.
Spike, you are now on your way to the mysterious time of the jungle ruins. You must navigate through thick jungles filled with beasts never seen before. Go on to explore the temple ruins, but be very careful. The temple is laden with treacherous pathways and dark dungeons. Oh yes, and you may have already noticed one thing. The apes have varying fields of vision, so in most cases you can sneak up on them by crawling around rather than running after them. You won't be noticed as quickly if you remain low to the ground. You'll discover many great things on your journey, but try to stay focused. You must locate all of the apes. Every second that passes gives Spectre a chance to succeed. We're counting on you.
Hello, Professor. Remember me? It's me, Spectre, the future leader of the new age. That's right. Apes will soon rule the world, just as it should have been from the beginning.
Spectre, what's going on here? What are you planning to do?
Spectre, oh yes. You're the monkey that performs at the amusement park.
What? He's that cute little monkey that everyone loves to come and see? But how?
Yes, that's right. I stumbled onto this incredible invention of yours, this peak point helmet, and it's given me remarkable knowledge and great powers. And now, I plan to rule the world, and I owe it to you, Professor.
Spectre, you must listen to me carefully. It's true that the peak point helmet will augment your intelligence to heightened levels when it's worn. However, it is still incomplete. It's never been tested and may be very dangerous to use. I insist that you bring the peak point helmet back to me immediately.
Bring it back? Are you kidding? I'm sorry, Professor, but it's too late. I've already made duplicate helmets for my new army of apes. There's no stopping us now. The future is mine! Don't try and trick me into giving this helmet back, Professor. I'm smarter than you. I even figured out how to use the time station. I've already sent my armies back in time to rewrite history. No longer will humans be the dominant species. I will rule this world. Don't bother trying to stop me.
Spike will find you. Just wait, you'll see. We're not gonna stand around and let you take over.
Spike? That little runt? He doesn't scare me. I've got a surprise for him.
Jake!
I've always wanted to go up against you. Now here's my chance. I'm gonna have a great time destroying you and showing you who's the real hero.
What's happening? What's wrong with you? Do you realize what you're saying? Do you know who you're talking to? Snap out of it! Pull yourself together! Can you hear me?
It's no use. Somehow he's been brainwashed and he's being controlled by Spectre.
That's right, Professor. You're very perceptive. The boy you see here isn't the same anymore. He works for me now. I'm in control, and no one can stop me, especially not you. Well, I've got to go now, but I'm sure we'll be talking again soon.
That was a very long cutscene. Anyway, that was the big bad villain of the game, Spectre. who you saw in the intro cinematic, putting on that helmet, which turned him evil, apparently. Or was he already evil and the helmet just amplified his intelligence? That's the question. And yeah, all of the coins, the Spectre coins that I was calling them earlier, they're based on him, apparently. Whether he created the coins, I don't know, but they're there for you to collect. Again, I'm not going to collect them all in this playthrough that I'm commentating over, but there's another playthrough you can watch where I do collect all of the coins, so blah. Anyways, the previous 3 levels are pretty short, but starting with Thick Jungle, you'll find that the levels get a little bit bigger for you. You can kind of consider the dinosaur era as kind of the warm-up to the rest of the game, as it were, which is a pretty good way of looking at it. And yeah, Thick Jungle is, it's pretty thick, don't you know? That Spectre coin, you're going to need to come back with a gadget that lets you, jump higher in the air, and also glide down. Not unlike Spyro, but not quite as adventurous as Spyro, one could say. Fun fact, Ape Escape was released the same year as Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage and Crash Team Racing. By the way, are you enjoying Crash Team Racing Nitro Fuel? I know I've been. That's besides the point. Another thing too, I think Ape Escape might have gotten a demo release on a Pizza Hut disc. I'm not sure about that one. I know Spyro 2 and Crash Team Racing did, but Ape Escape I'm not so sure on. But yeah, Thick Jungle, I have a lot of memories with this level actually, because of how big this level is. You know, some of the apes you find might not be the same as what other people found on their first visit. There's also quite a few apes here that require the slingshot gadget I mentioned earlier. I don't think you need any other gadget to capture the rest of the apes, but you do need that flying gadget I mentioned to get that Spectre coin earlier, so you may as well just wait until near the end of the game to revisit all of the levels with all of the gadgets you acquired throughout the adventure. At least that's what I recommend you do. You know, I just feel like that's the best way to approach it. Also, this isn't a gadget per se, but this is a vehicle. This is a raft. It's just a simple raft, but you move each of the oars with each analog stick, which sounds cool on paper, but in terms of execution it can be a little tiresome in long stretches, which is a good thing. The raft sections aren't terribly long, so you know, Sony did a very good job. Ape Escape was developed by Sony Japan Studio, something like that. They also went on to make a bunch of other Ape Escape games, and they also made Knack and Knack 2 on PS4. Some people don't like Knack. From what I've seen of the game, I don't think it's a bad game at all. It's a little repetitive, but not a bad game, so I think people calling Knack a bad game, they're just trying to make a meme out of it, I guess. And I haven't really seen Knack 2. I'm not even sure if I have Knack 2 downloaded on my PS4, but it's probably better than the first Knack. I don't know. But, you know, we're almost coming to a close with this part once we're done with this level. So, you know, I think I captured this ape right here, and we're pretty much donezo with the Thick Jungle. So, I hope you all enjoyed this part. I will see you all next time when we make more progress through the mysterious age. And among other things. I think there's going to be a little more footage after this, but nothing too terribly important. Besides, I really gotta go get rehydrated. So, see you then.
You did great.
Welcome back to Ape Escape the commentary. I don't remember when I uploaded the last part, and I apologize for the long wait, but I could swear I made it clear that all of those first parts was supposed to be like testing the waters. And by the way, Ape Escape did very well. It actually got 20-something views, whereas all the Nintendo-related ones only got like 10. So I think you all know where the priority should be for these commentaries, am I right? Alright, well, first of all, I'm glad that the first level of this part is not Thick Jungle, because, you know, that one had the really long cutscene with Spectre and our buddy Jake, who got, possessed by Spectre, apparently. Well, I don't remember the details of how exactly he got possessed now. I don't know if they actually go into great detail about that in this game's elaborate story, but, yeah, that's a thing. Also, I have not equipped the monkey radar yet. Probably because I've played this game so many times that I don't really need no stinking monkey radar, okay? And I got really lucky there because monkeys with dark blue pants are actually really fast. Like, they're so fast that you may want to skip them and wait until you get a certain funky gadget later on in the game that will help you kind of with catching up to speedy monkeys. Now mind you, there are some monkeys that don't have dark blue pants that may still be pretty fast and hard to capture. But those usually don't show up till the later half of the game, and we're still in the early parts of the game. Mind you, this is only part 2 of a 9-ish part commentary, and we are doing this game to the true ending, so I think it only has like 2 parts. But still, this is a great game, and I'm going to be doing you all a great service by completing a complete commentary of this game. And take a shot every time I say the word game in any of these commentaries. But, great thing about Ape Escape, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it in the previous part, is that a lot of these levels give you options with which monkeys you can capture or not. You see, the level will give you a specific number of monkeys to catch, mind you, but there's usually a lot more than the number you're given. Even in that first level, there were 4 monkeys, but they only asked you to catch 3. And that's fine, especially since the monkey in that first level actually requires a gadget from the second half of the game, more or less. Although, yeah, roughly the second half of the game, or the middle of the game, whatever you want to call it. And we have another new kind of monkey here. We got the green pants monkeys, or as some people might call them, the spy monkeys, or something like that, or gadget monkeys, or something like that. I'm fine with just calling them green pants monkeys, although I do like sniper monkeys, because they wear goggles that help see the monkey catcher, whether you're playing as Spike over here, or one of the other monkey catchers in the other Ape Escape games that I may or may not want to do a commentary for. Post in the comments if you'd like to see that. And I left in this epic failure because, yeah, movement in here is pretty finicky, especially since this was the first game to really take full advantage of the DualShock control scheme on the PS1. In a lot of ways, this game is like Super Mario 64, but in some ways, it's also not. But I can definitely see why people compare this to Super Mario 64. That's besides the point. And the only reason I showed that off is to show off the Spectre coin location because it's fairly out of the way. And it may give you a lead on the green pants monkey, but I don't know. It's honestly kind of finicky. But I do tend to capture this monkey whenever I come to this level for the first time, because this monkey is pretty annoying to catch. Now, gadgets you obtain later on, after you complete this level, may or may not make this easier. The Super Hoop, yeah, I think it was called the Super Hoop. I'm trying not to spoil too many gadgets ahead, unless I already spoiled them in the last part, in which case, I apologize for spoiling minor details in a 1999 PS1 game, and that was pretty lucky, even though the build-up to that was pretty slow. But that's usually how it's going to go with capturing green pants monkeys. Although, funnily enough, I find that this first one is actually one of the trickier ones to get because of the shenanigans with the blowing fan gimmick, puzzle, whatever you want to call it. And then there's this other monkey up here that has a laser gun. Not nearly as annoying as the green pants monkey that has a jetpack that shoots missiles. That's pretty bad. But, still, monkeys with lasers are still pretty deadly. Anyways, you get to the end of that, and, well, finish that level. That was a pretty good path I've showed off that people can use, but if people skip the blue pants monkey because it's too fast for them, I want to say there might have been a monkey on the side, but, my memory eludes me. Oh boy. Yeah. My memory eludes me, but what I showed off is a pretty good path. It's not that hard to capture the blue pants monkey, but I can see how some people could struggle. Oh, yes. Finally, we collect this.
Check it out.
It looks like the letter Y. I know what it looks like. But it's not the letter Y. In
I'm sending you
performance,
gadget
it's
over to
actually
you
a
right
little
now.
bit better than the
Try it
letter
out in the
Y.
training booth.
And you'll
Without training,
see,
it will be too dangerous for
I'm
you
not
to
gonna
continue
fall
on
into
to the
that
next
trap.
area.
This
Well,
is the
good luck and be
slingback
careful.
shooter. Why do they call it the slingback shooter? Because it's a slingshot. But they didn't want to just call it the slingshot because guess what? In a video game that released not even a year prior to this, you know, a little cult classic called The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, they actually had an item called the slingshot. So, Sony, in their brilliant marketing plot, decided we're not gonna call this the slingshot because we don't want people to compare Ape Escape to a cult classic unknown indie game like Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. So we're gonna call this obvious slingshot the slingback shooter. It's just a really contrived name. And as far as I know, everybody that's played this game just calls it the slingshot anyway. So, we're gonna call it the slingshot because you say slingback and that's just gonna remind me of this character from the Boondocks called a pimp named Slickback. It's not that far off. I'm just saying, it's not that far off. When the heck did I equip the monkey radar? Well, either rate, at this point, you have exactly 4 gadgets, so you may as well fill up all 4 of your face buttons with all 4 of the gadgets. Why not? That's the way I see it. Monkey radar on square, slingshot on circle, the stun club on the triangle, and the net on X. That is the setup that I like to use. But, you know, I'm sure everyone has their own kind of setup that they like to utilize, you know. It's kind of semantics. As long as the gadget is in one of the face buttons, you're gonna be able to use it. And thankfully, in this first Ape Escape game, there's actually not a lot of gadgets you have to worry about. The thing is, you're almost always gonna have, you need to have the net on your buttons at all times, so that kind of reduces your slots to 3, which kind of already gives you a comparison to 3D Zelda games, because 3D Zelda games have buttons you can equip items to. So, you know, them calling the slingshot the slingback shooter just kind of makes it look all the more hilarious when there's already gonna be comparisons. And it's actually kind of funny that this game can be compared to both Super Mario 64 and The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Because this game actually came out before Majora's Mask, so for a couple years, Ocarina of Time was the only 3D Zelda game to make comparisons to. But yeah, the slingshot is pretty stinking useful. There's 3 different kinds of shots though. And I know I left in the tutorial, but I kind of blitzed through it. You know, I actually had a discussion with a friend of mine. He didn't really have any influence on this playthrough that I recorded for the commentary, but he did give a suggestion or 2. One of those was adding the little failure picture whenever I miss catching an ape, which I think is hilarious. Definitely think it's hilarious. It might have even contributed to the success of the first part. I don't know. So we'll see how that goes with the next 7 parts plus this one. Or however many that adds up to. I don't know. It's been so many years since I've had to do math. I'm just kidding. Math is actually my favorite subject up until a certain point. If you know what that point is, you deserve a cookie. But what was that? Oh yeah, my friend had input on this playthrough. The same friend that you'll find in some other videos that I've uploaded under the We Play Games series. So, you know, you might want to look into that if you want a little more variety from these commentaries, where it's not just me talking into a microphone post-commentary. There's actually some live commentary mixed in there in the We Play Games series. I don't like doing live commentary for stuff like this, though, because, you know, when you're playing a game, your brain is kind of allocating stuff to you playing the game, rather than trying to play a game and talk at the same time. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I think that for a lot of, pretty much every single player game, it's definitely better to do post-commentary. Stuff like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, though, or Mario Party, yeah, you might want to do live commentary for that. I don't know why anybody would do post-commentary for Mario Party or even Smash Bros. Ultimate, unless it's the single player, which isn't really that popular as from people. You know, people don't really play Smash Bros. For single player. I kind of enjoy the single player in Super Smash Bros., but I can see why some people don't. It can be kind of a slog, truth be told. But, yeah, this level has some really good music, by the way. I know I've been kind of slacking on talking about the music lately. But the music in Ape Escape is wonderful. But anyway, yeah, my friend had two things to say about this playthrough. One was to do the picture thing of putting that lol fail picture every time I miss an 8, which I think is hilarious, and didn't add much time to the editing process either. The second thing was actually leaving in the tutorials. I don't know why he suggested that, but it does mean that this playthrough has a little bit more to it than my non-commentary long play. So I guess there's that. Oh yeah, here's Jake. Occasionally you will have to do challenges where you're racing against Jake. This is the first of them. And funnily enough, there's a gimmick where if you walk through these gates. Yeah. Be careful because the speed boost can definitely catch you off guard. If you walk through the gates, you'll get a boost of speed, and you need those in order to keep up with Jake. I don't know what it is with the programming of Jake's AI, but he's faster in certain ways, but slower in other ways. So this first race is honestly the hardest one of the 3 that you'll have to do. Actually, it's kind of more than 3, but I don't want to spoil what's the situation with that. Just keep an eye out. Actually, now I think about it, maybe there aren't 3. Maybe it's actually just 2, but I'm remembering it like 3. We'll see how it goes for the rest of this playthrough. Everyone just calm down. It's not that big a deal. You will be using the water net in this challenge, which amounts for all of like 5 to 10 seconds. This is the hardest part. You need to time your jumps very well if you want to dodge those spike balls, and I still didn't. I'm still messing this up. But you have a little bit of a grace period there if you are proficient about your walking speed. I don't think you have to do these races to progress through the story, but you do get a lot of Spectre coins by completing these. Matter of fact, you get 5, and there's at least 2 of these races, plus a third one that I may or may not be remembering. And that's a total of 10, which I believe is enough to unlock the first minigame easily. So yeah, there's that. And I still haven't unlocked the first minigame. I think we might be showing it off this part. If not, it'll be the next part when I collect enough coins. I'm not showing off how to get every coin because this is not a 100% playthrough. That would really slow down the pace of this commentary. Oh hey, this was the gadget I alluded to like 10 minutes ago, the Super Hoop.
Check it out.
This is a speedrunner's favorite thing. This is the thing that will help you run faster and catch up to those blue pants monkeys and other generally fast primates. The input process for it can be a little finicky though. So being a hoop, you might think, oh, you just gotta spin the hoop, right? Yes, but you have to spin the hoop with the right analog stick, which doesn't have the most perfect input in the world. But when you do pull it off, it's a pretty good speed boost in this game. I find that in the later Ape Escape games, the Super Hoop is kind of nerfed, to be honest. Either that, or it's just the way that the game's FPS makes it seem like that it might be not as fast as it was on the PS1. I don't know.
In this next period, you'll find that most of the planet is covered with water. The water net will be very useful in catching the apes. There are lots of dangerous creatures below the surface. Be careful.
Now, I'm kind of a fan of this next set of levels because it's set in something called Oceania. I actually really like the ocean and marine biology and stuff like that, generally. But I actually kind of like the next set of levels after this a little bit more, if only because of the music in those levels. The music in here is obviously good too. Like Krabby Beach is it's the song they use in the intro of the game, I'm pretty sure. By the way, if this isn't your first time playthrough and you're not having a hard time tracking down the location of monkeys, do replace the monkey radar with the Super Hoop. And this right here is a pretty good setup. Also, there may or may not be some lag during this opening segment of Krabby Beach. May or may not be lag. And it gets a little ridiculous. Generally, though, lag is pretty rare in the original Ape Escape, so they did a pretty decent job for a 1999 PS1 game, I guess. I mean, that's kind of late, considering the PS2 came out in Japan in 1999 and then the US the year later. I don't know, because the PS1 still kept getting games released for it until like 2002, 2003, I think. At least I don't remember what year Digimon World 3 came out. I want to say it was 2002, but I think it came out in Europe in 2003. Which is why I keep remembering Digimon World 3 as Digimon 2003 because of that. That's a whole nother can of worms. But Krabby Beach is still a pretty solid level. It's really short, but it's not as short as like the first 3 levels. Well, it's probably shorter than the 3rd level. I forget the name of it. Molten Lava, I think it was called, even though there wasn't really all that much lava in that level. Yeah, that could be it. I don't know. But the 3 different types of shots for the slingshot. There's the regular pellet that doesn't really do all that much damage. There's the explosive shot that's essentially a long-range stun club, more or less. I got really lucky there to catch that ape before it spawned a UFO. Very good stuff. And the 3rd shot, and my favorite one, is the guided pellet. It's homing, but it's as strong as a regular pellet. You give and you take. But it's very useful for the monkey UFOs because they tend to be very dodgy in the air. Anyways, we're already on to the 2nd level of Oceania. It looks like we'll be doing the 3rd level next part, though. And that's my favorite level of these 3. Well, I guess we'll be starting the next part off strong in that case. However, something else I want to compliment here is the way these sharks look. They have 2 different sharks here. I don't know if it's only 2 sharks, but I kind of like the models for these sharks. They look pretty good. Oh, I see 2 models here. That's a hammerhead shark, and the other shark is just a regular shark as far as I know. If there's a specific species name for the other shark that you'll probably see a little bit later, do post it in the comments. That would be a great service to those of us in the marine biology business. I'm not really in the marine biology business, but I still have kind of an interest in it. So, also 2 monkeys here for free. Sometimes the monkeys take a minute before they react to your presence. I don't know if it was intentional or if it's just the PS1, you know, bless its heart, trying to load everything, but it is what it is. At any rate. Also, barely even started this level. We're not even out of the first area, and I already have 3 monkeys captured out of 5, it looks like. That's kind of crazy. This area can be kind of a pain, though, because of the camera control. And the enemies. You see, when you climb these vines, yeah, I left that in just to stress the difficulty that this area can present. Grabbing onto the vines isn't really all that irritating. It's just trying to jump from one vine to the next with the camera control of this game, which is probably better than the Super Mario 64 camera, but yeesh, this was a little rough. Probably should have used the slingshot to kill that enemy, truth be told, but... And this was probably the hardest time I've ever had with this section in the many playthroughs of this game that I've done throughout the years. I survived with only 1 cookie. Good lord. And that monkey could have shot that cookie right out of there with his laser, but no. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Out of the 5 monkeys they want you to catch, you can catch 4 of them in this first area. That really gives you a lot of choice for the second area. There's actually a lot of monkeys here that you can catch, but I'm just opting not to catch. So I just go for the most obvious, which is the one that's hidden behind a turret on top of a ship. This is what you'd want to save your explosive pellets for, because if you go any closer, you'll have to deal with a barrage of Gatling guns projectiles. And we don't want that. At any rate, I hope you enjoyed this speed run of Coral Cave, and look forward to the rest of the Ape Escape playthrough next time. Are we still Indigo League comms? I don't know anymore.
You did great.